In America, most of the 1920s were a time of relative quiet.
Oh, but all that changed in 1929, an unforgettable time. Now, does anybody out there know what happened on October 24th, 1929? Yeah, Black Thursday it's called. The stock market fell and a wave of suicides followed, along with millions of workers losing their jobs. And this was the beginning of what? The Great Depression. And that's the way the world entered the 1930s.
Structure was completed and officially christened the Empire State Building. Thousands lined the streets of Manhattan as the lights of the mammoth building were turned on for the first time. Some are suggesting the building could be used as a docking station for dirigibles, the gigantic balloon ships that will soon be ferrying thousands across the seas.
Any luck?
Of course not.
Honey, you have got to find work. We've already sold the car to pay for the rent. And now we're down to $2.39.
How can you talk to me about finding a job? Look at you sitting here listening to them talking about erecting the world's tallest building when you could be darning socks or gathering eggs.
Eggs? Where do you think we got that hen we ate last Sunday?
I suppose I could go back to the soup line tomorrow. Maybe Roosevelt's New Deal will get this country on a roll.
Meanwhile, how about a cup of tea? This tea bag's only been used twice so far. Of course, we don't have any white sugar, but I have a little honey left in the honey jar.
Thanks. Where are the kids?
They're staying over at Betty's house tonight. She said Oscar had made enough at the factory this month to take them to the pictures.
Well, that was nice of them. What's showing?
Duck soup, I think.
Oh, I love the Marx Brothers. How about we scrape together 30 cents and join them?
You know we can't do that. Let's stay home and listen to Little Orphan Annie on the radio. Then we can have your brothers, Durwood, Delbert, Gilbert, Bert, Dirk, Ted, and Fred, and your sister Sally Mae over for a little front porch jammin'.
Hey, great idea. We'll invite all 8 of your brothers and sisters, too.
Who says these are depressing times? We still know how to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, far worse than the conditions in the U.S. were the conditions in Europe, where World War I had bled the treasuries of the nations and destroyed their leaders, cities, and economies. Recovery seemed impossible.
Those conditions led to the rise in power of Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin, and in our country at that time, we experienced added difficulties of the Dust Bowl.
As life for many became more difficult, eyes and thoughts began to shift from the temporal things of earth to those of eternal significance. Families bonded together in love. Neighbors helped one another out. Revivals began to spring up all across America. While some had lost their hope during the Depression, many more found a renewed hope in the Lord. Believers found that God was with us through it all. The campaign song of a presidential candidate in 1933 gave voice to hope for our nation. How many of you remember this song? This was the theme song for Franklin Delano Roosevelt's run for the presidency.
In spite of those hard times, it is amazing that the arts flourished. Jazz saw the rise of Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Benny Goodman, and many others. Theater was popular, and on Broadway, the lights never dimmed. During this time, George and Ira Gershwin, Rodgers and Hammerstein, and Cole Porter transformed the stage into musical company.
And of course, there was Hollywood and the bigger-than-life stars it produced. Movies such as The Wizard of Oz or musicals like the likes of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers helped Americans to escape into a world of fantasy and romance, while providing a departure from the drudgery of the Depression years.
Gangster films, too, caught the imagination of the public, and real-life gangsters of the 1930s are still remembered today. Bonnie and Clyde, Kate, Ma Barker, and John Dillinger, to name a few.
Consider the contrast from those days: despair versus hope, sadness versus joy, lawlessness versus faithfulness. We can learn a lot from those who lived through the Depression years. While some chose a life of crime, violence, and hopelessness, many more found renewed faith in a God who would sustain them even through life's toughest trials. That renewed faith was preparing our nation for an even greater ordeal.